Let's
Hi,
go,
Brad.
dude. 105K roll. And you're coming from like 87K accounting, right?
Yeah, yep.
Wow, man. I'm so proud of you. Cool, man. So tell us, for those of us who don't really know you, what were you doing before Sword, before tech sales, and like why did you feel like that wasn't going to be a really good path for you long term?
Yeah, so before I really discovered tech sales, I kind of went the academic route. I was in accounting. I did a couple years there, and it just, being in the back office just really wasn't fulfilling for me. I wanted to, really kind of, take a step out into a career where I could kind of put everything more in my hands, essentially, not wait so long to climb the corporate ladder. I know me and you talked a lot about meeting goals early on in life, and I don't want to wait for it to come to me. Like we've talked about so many times, I'm hungry, and I want to win. I've always been competitive and stuff, so I thought, what better way to do that than get in a career where I can, put my career in my hands and do different things like that. So I thought, tech sales was a perfect way to do that. So that's kind of how I landed here.
I gotcha. And do they call it the big four or the big five? What do they say?
Big four accounting.
Big four.
Yeah. Right now,
Okay.
I didn't, I've been working in private right now, but that's where I started my career was in the big four.
Start in big four. And I know that career path is like you have to commit and it's years and you climb that ladder and you can climb the ladder, you can get pretty far. But for you, did you feel like you were always a sales guy that ended up in accounting, or did you feel like you were an accounting guy who had to turn into a sales guy?
Nah, I know we talked about this. I felt like I've been in sales my whole life without even knowing it. Started my own small business in college, just, knocking on doors, making phone calls to, try to grow a small landscaping business, not really realizing I'm doing sales every single day, just, in a different manner. Then obviously I went the academic route, started in Big Four. I'm working in a high pressure environment, long hours, trying to meet with so many different clients and, keep everybody happy and deliver a great product. So I feel like everything there is sales, just not the, obviously technical aspect of sales itself. So yeah, I feel like I've been in sales my whole life without really knowing it.
Mm.
And yeah, I really think I'm gonna enjoy this new step. So I'm excited.
Yeah, 100%, man. Did you have any maybe apprehension or uncertainty about going from an accounting background into sales? Like, was there any imposter syndrome or like, can I actually do this? Did you struggle with any of that apprehension?
Yeah, I think early on, one of the things that I struggled with most was like obviously every week in accounting, my salary is guaranteed. Whereas in sales, it's not. And I really just had to kind of convince myself and commit that, if I'm 100% in, I'm going to make that salary plus a lot more on top of that. But it's just, I think it took me building up my sales skills more to get to that level of confidence, just because obviously before, joining the sword program, I didn't have those, little technical sales skills or even interview skills until I started working with you. So once I started doing that, I really feel like that allowed me to gain the confidence I needed to, really comfortably step into a role when the right one came along. And I know the process with me was probably a little longer than some of your other clients, but I think we really found the right role, and I'm happy about that. You stayed patient, and we stayed the course, and we were able to get it done.
Yeah, 100%, man. For me, it's really not about a timeline. Like, yeah, that's fun to flex. Like, yeah, we do this in 38 days on average, but it's more so
Yeah,
about finding the right fit for you because, bro, you're gonna go crush this role and you're gonna be sending screenshots to me of, hey, I broke this record, I crushed quota this month. Like, that's what I care about more than a timeline. And I'm really proud of you for being firm on like what you were looking for and being patient to wait for
yeah,
that and work for it.
yeah. I definitely think going into a role I wasn't 100% into would have definitely maybe raised that uncertainty a little bit that we were talking about a little while ago. But going in with a good company that, seems to have a great training program, great people, great culture, and the salary is obviously a good raise from where I'm at now. It's kind of like a no-brainer. I obviously
Yeah.
interviewed with some companies. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not 100% on the product or the company, but this one I'm 100% on, and that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, this is an elite company, top company. They're crushing it in their vertical. So that being said, I mean, take me all the way back to when we first met. I don't even remember. Like, how did you come across Sword? How did you come across me? And I guess a lot of people have a lot of skepticism towards these online coaches, which I get. Like, there's a lot
Yeah.
of weird stuff out there. But for you, like, why did you ultimately decide to go all in on Sword?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a while ago. I got to think back now, but
Same.
I think I just saw you on LinkedIn. Just a weekly update. I think I signed up for that at first. I watched some of your YouTube videos, and then I was like, wait a second. Guess getting into sales isn't as easy as I thought it would be. And then I watched some YouTube videos about the outreach you do, and cold calling managers and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I just thought I would submit a resume like any other job. And then once I saw that, I think we hopped on a meeting or two. And then from there, I was like, all right, like this significantly increases my chance of getting in. But not only that, I feel like it significantly increased my chances of having success in the role, which obviously is just as important as getting in the role. So that was kind of a no brainer for me, kind of a
Mm.
little now for,
Yeah.
one game later on.
I remember for you, one thing I do remember actually is some people really want to try to figure this out on their own. They're like, no, I think I can do it. I got it. You're very humble and like eager to get coaching though. So what would you tell that person who's on the fence of joining Sword? Because you came from a different industry, accounting. You didn't even know for sure if you
Yeah.
wanted to do tech sales. But then you also invest into a coach and it's not cheap for sure. So like those are two big steps to make. What do you tell that person who's on the fence still, who's like really hesitant to go all in?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of, hesitation obviously comes from like you said, it's not cheap, but it's just like it's like taking a college course. We've been working together for the last, I don't know, 9 months now, I think. And, you're getting access to people you're not going to have access to without, committing to the program. You're getting one-on-one coaching. Sometimes when you're having a bad moment without the ability to call you, hey, I got asked this question in an interview, what do I do next time? Or, it's like, it's almost like you're like the coach and I'm watching film with you. Every interview I record and send over to you. We analyze, get feedback and stuff like that. And I really feel like I'd still be looking for a job in tech sales today. Without your help, I didn't know half of what I know now. I feel like there's a lot of people, obviously, even when I first started applying, I thought I knew what I was applying for, but you really just don't realize how competitive it is. It's almost like having a football team with no coach without having a tech sales coach trying to break into the industry. It's hard. And, I feel like without some structure and guidance, it's just, you're going to spin your wheels for a while. Unless, there will be the people that get lucky and can do it. And, maybe some people just have really good interviewing skills or, have some prior sales experience. Maybe that makes it a little easier. But with you, it's a laid out roadmap. And I feel like that makes it so much easier. It takes the pressure off of what should I be doing? You know what you need to be doing. It's just about executing at that point.
So good. Yeah, you nailed that the way you just said that. Cause a lot of people, they think they know what to do. Then their eyes are open. They're like, oh crap, like this is what I have to do. What should I be doing then?
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming. If you don't have that roadmap,
Well,
that game
even
plan can be a lot.
Jack, think about like I'm trying to get a job, right? And like I'm 50% sure I should be calling this hiring manager, and then I'm 50% not sure like that's what I should be doing. My call is not going to be as good as you being like 100% get on the phone and call that hiring manager. I have 100% confidence on that phone call versus 50%. And early in the process, I didn't have that kind of confidence, and I think hiring managers pick up on that quickly. Like the minute you actually are committed and confident, that's when you're the guy that they want to hire.
Yeah, well said. And it's because in 2 weeks, we're going to put you on the phone with some prospects. So, like, do you have that conviction
Yeah.
and that confidence? And that kind of feeds into my next question for you. One of your priorities was making sure you're not just getting into tech sales. One was like getting a great job with a company that's a fit, but then two was making sure you were prepared to actually do well in the job. So I guess like on a scale of
Yeah.
1 to 10, how confident do you feel you're going to go crush this thing, and like what leads to that confidence?
I want to say a 10, but I mean, obviously, there's always a little bit of uncertainty. So I think, 8 or 9. But I feel like without your program and the coaching, I feel like it would have been like a 4. I feel like I doubled my confidence just because I know exactly what the role entails now. It's just, now it's about me fine tuning those skills, like the cold calling and the outreach and stuff like that. Where before it was just like, all right, this is sales. I don't really know what I'm getting myself into, but I know what I'm getting myself into now. And I feel like that's huge. That's a huge
Mm,
point getting into like your first tech sales role is you got to know what you're stepping into. If you don't even know what you're
yeah,
stepping into, you're going to be quickly overwhelmed, I feel like. So, yeah, I definitely
yeah.
think the program allows you to get some of those early on things in sales like, what am I going to be doing? Even just getting on the phone with hiring managers just gets that first couple calls out of your system before you're even in the role.
Hmm. Absolutely. What stuck out to you about working with me one on one? Like coaching style, was there anything there where you were like, this is unique about Jack?
Yeah, I gotta say, one of the my favorite things was like the responsiveness. Sometimes I'd be on an interview and I'd be like, shit, like I didn't know how to answer this one question or something like that. And I would instantly message you afterwards and be like, hey Jack, I totally didn't know how to answer this question. Like, what do you think? And we'd be on a call 15 minutes later answering that question. And I feel like that, fresh positive feedback sticks a lot more than 2 days ago. I'm like, hey, what did I want to ask Jack about that interview? I didn't really remember. That definitely stood out to me. And just, your ability to really hone in on the industry. When I'm like, hey, how does this cold call script sound? Like you just know off the top of your head how to
I
tweak
love it,
things and
man.
make it better. So
I love it. Thanks for that
yeah.
insight. I think that'll help people who have had maybe bad experiences with coaches, which I have too. So I totally get that. I guess let's kind of land the plane on what advice do you have for others who are trying to get into tech sales like you were, and they just don't really know what to do. Like what advice do you give them?
Sign up with Jack. No, yeah, I
I
mean, I
paid
think
him
if you don't know what to do,
$15,000 to say that. So no kidding.
say it again.
I said I paid you $15,000 to say that. So
Oh yeah, and then the other 15 comes when you get 5 signups. But no, I think breaking into the industry, like the more knowledge you have about the role and the companies and what you're trying to get into is vital. And I feel like especially working with you, I was able to really understand the industry much faster than I would have been able to on my own. Like on your own, you're watching 20 different people say 20 different things, and you get, what am I supposed to be doing? That's what I really enjoyed the most is like with you, I know exactly what I need to do every single day in order to, land the role. And it always stuck with me just doing the job to get the job. I thought, that was huge in landing my role. And, for some advice for people who haven't, landed a role yet, you just have to stay committed. Like there's going to be points where you're like, man, I've applied to so many jobs. I've had quite a few interviews and nothing's going my way. But I feel like the more interviews you do and the more applications you do, you're only going to get better. So yeah, just keep applying and, keep trying to hone in on those skills and eventually you'll find the right one.
do the job to get the job, Brian. You said it, man. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of you. I'm excited to hear the updates of you breaking records and crushing quota over there. And yeah, man,
mine
you've got
too.
a bright future ahead. A way to put in the work.
Yeah, I'm ready for sure. I'm pumped. I can't wait. And I'll definitely, send you updates when I am crushing quota over there. So it's going to be great.
Love it. Thanks, Brian.